I play a lot of games during the week, all to test for the channel, and some games I keep and some games I don't, and some games even make it to the channel, but there's a lot of games that don't, and I decided this week to put all the games I've played this week into one big video. This is a video of me just talking about these titles, whether I like them, whether I hate them, and what are my overall thoughts about them. Note one thing, this doesn't mean I've played all these games finished, and it doesn't mean that they're coming to the channel. It's just something that I always have a lot of recordings on standby just to see if I'm going to do videos on them. So here we go, these are the games I've played this week. But of course, if you like this video, subscribe down below, share it, comment, all those good stuff, and gain the algorithm for me. Alright, I'll see you guys in this next game. Saints Row 2022. When it comes to the franchise of Saints Row, we all love it. It redefined what you could do with open world games. It could be funny, quirky, it had personality, it was offensive and cringy, but it was hella fun. The Saints Row games were some of my personal favorites, and some still regard Saints Row 2 as one of the greatest open world games of all time. At a time when every single game felt like the same, Saints Row was the outlier, and it was always something different. It did its own thing, it played its own way. And then the game franchise kind of just died. It was nowhere to be seen, and that was until eventually they announced this game, Saints Row 2022, which was supposed to be sort of a reboot, sequel type of thing. We don't really know. And the first question was, why? Why did this game need to exist? Why couldn't they just make a Saints Row 5? Didn't really make sense. And second is that it didn't look anything like the Saints Row that we know, with none of the characters that we had. And that meant that this game was going to have a big uphill battle to fight. And then the game finally came out, and it was panned heavily. A lot of people hated it. But I needed to throw my 2 cents into the game as well, and I finally decided to sit down and play it this week. And I got about 5 hours in before I just didn't really care to play this game anymore. And that's the biggest problem with this game. It's boring. You don't want a good game to be boring. I played a good 5 hours of this game, and that's usually enough time in an open world game to get sit with the world, get all the stuff unlocked or most of the features unlocked, and understand where you're going with the story and some of the characters. With Saints Row, first of all, it's just really boring, and second, I just didn't really connect with this game at all. After 5 hours, if I bought this game and I just was so bored by it, I wouldn't want to play it again, and that's exactly how I felt. The original games had something to them that made you want to continue playing. Maybe it was the ridiculousness, maybe it was the cringy jokes, but whatever it was, there was something there. There was personality in those games, and in this game, there isn't any of that. It feels like it's stripped away, and it's very, and I hate to use this word, but very corporate. A game that's trying so hard to be like those old Saints Row games, and at the same time being like none of them at all, and makes the game very, very boring. Now, the driving is okay, the open world looks fine, the gameplay is all that, but what really sticks with this game being so boring is that I just didn't really care. I didn't care about the story, even though it was my own created character. I didn't care that you could make your character look completely dumb and still run around with the dildo stuff, because not that I got older, because I can still have fun with those in the older games, but in this game it just didn't work. And worst of all, the characters themselves and the dialogue are also all terrible. I couldn't click with any of the characters or their personalities. You don't have the Johnny Gat of this franchise whatsoever. And that's something that's in those games. You immediately can get into the world of Saints Row. But with this game, you don't really know what the world is. It's trying to be the new edgy modern day writing with the quirky jokes and the jumping in with one-liners, but on the other hand, it's also trying to be Saints Row, and the two don't mesh. Saints Row was always its own thing, and when it tries to be something else, that's when Saints Row fails, and this game shows exactly that. A franchise that's trying to be something it's not. A game that's trying so hard to be a carbon copy of what it is, but also try to update it. They don't need to update it. They can just keep it how it was, and I think this game would have done a fair bit. And a lot of the things that they have in this game are a lot of Saints Row stuff. The ability to call in a car, having the various mini games, well, that's very Saints Row. But it just didn't really click, and I got bored of it, and then the game crashed on me, and I just never haven't gone back yet. I do plan to do a full review for the channel on this game, but for now, I just want to step away from it because I couldn't feel myself to really play this game for a full, probably 15 hours to 20 hours the game's gonna take. And if I couldn't survive 5, imagine how long and boring 15 hours of this game is going to be.
Well, shit.
Freeze!
Down on the ground!
You called for a ride?
You said you didn't want to risk your car.
I said I didn't want to risk it for rent. I'd risk anything for you dummies. So, is this how it's gonna be every time we have to pay rent?
I thought that went great. Yeah, okay. Maybe I can go back to running my old side hustles for extra cash? Don't worry. We'll figure it out. This town is full of opportunities.
Sakuna, Goddess of Rice. When it comes to this game, I'm not sure if I like it or hate it. I used to see this game a lot when it came to the Nintendo store and the PlayStation store, but I finally got to download it when it was on the PlayStation catalog and see what the hell this game was about, since I had no idea what I was going to get myself into. And what I found was a pretty okay game. Look, it's not going to blow your mind or anything or make you want to play it day and night, but I did enjoy myself playing it. Let's start with the story. Sakuna is of course the goddess of rice, and one day she's kicked out of the lofty realm with a bunch of humans to the island of demons. She now has to rid the island of all the demons if she wants to get back in the lofty realm. To do that, she'll be using her farming tools, planting a lot of rice, eating, and helping with the humans around the area. And that's really it. And I kind of really enjoyed it. What surprised me was the actual gameplay. There's two types here. There's combat and going for resources, and then there's farming. Yeah, they work really well. Let's start with the combat. You go into levels that are side-scrolling 2.5Ds, and you get a really good combat system here, with actual gear systems in place, and even farming tools and special moves. You can block into parry attacks, use attacks that can hit people into the air, combo into bigger moves, as well as use your remnant to go and zip from one area to another, as well as block at the right time and have bosses. This helps you collect resources, and then you take these resources back to go and plant. And what you're mostly going to be planting, well, is rice. That's right, you're going to be planting rice. And rice has to be planted in specific ways. What surprised me was how detailed and in-depth they go into planting rice. Now this takes place in the older era of Japan and how they plant rice. I don't know if the era has changed or anyway, or how you plant rice now, but I don't know the first thing. And this game will teach you everything. You'll have to do every little mini game. Plant rice in the right order. Then you gotta shake the rice. You gotta then put it inside. And then of course you have to eat. At the same time, you're gonna be collecting resources from those demons, like I said. And they will be dropping you other stuff that you need to make to cook and make food. Whenever you go out for an expedition, you have to make sure you eat the night before so that you can get buffs for the next day. And at night, the enemies become even stronger. So there's even a day and night cycle. You have to make sure you plant in the morning, get the water inside, then release the water and cook. Through this, you actually have a really good progression in the game. Whenever you start doing stuff like planting rice and after your first harvest, you actually unlock more features. The ability to see where you can plant the rice much better. The ability to see how much water you put into the rice farm. As for the humans themselves, they also play a part in it. At various points, they will unlock other things like carpentry, the ability to get more gear and armor abilities. It starts to really play in. I will admit though that this game is kind of really slow. If you're looking for something fast, this isn't it. Planting rice could take you the whole day in the morning, in-game of course. And then you're going to leave, fight, and maybe not even get anything. You'll have to replay levels over and over again, and certain levels do push the story forward, but you're mostly going to play the older levels over and over again because you need to level up. And the only way you can level up is obviously by planting rice and by eating at night. And yeah, that's really what this game is about. I was surprised how much fun I was really having with this game. I couldn't really put it down. There's something to say that this game isn't super amazing, but what is here is really good. I actually also kind of like the character. Sakuna is this bratty goddess who thinks she's all that, and now she's been kicked out and now she has to learn from the bottom and do everything. And the humans are all really dumb coming from different places. But there's a little bit of heart to it, which I kind of really like. And like I said, the progression in this game is really good. At first, it felt forever to get the rice planted. And when I finally did get my rice planted and actually make the rice really nice, I unlocked a whole bunch of features that started to make the rice planting much easier. And then you get to like the different seasons as well. Like when in winter, you can't plant any rice whatsoever. Then you also have to make sure you keep the garden, the rice farm clean and clean all the weeds that come out. Or eventually you can start to delegate it to the other people that are around you as well. And doing this, you also get small cutscenes that seem to play at random times that start to show the other characters that you're around, which is the human family that you're around, start to get new skills and gain new skills, as well as help you to get more resources. I found this game oddly fun, and I couldn't really put it down. So I will say, I don't know if I'm going to do a full review on this game. I might pair it up with something else. But I will say it is one to check out. If you can find this game, I do believe it's still available in the PlayStation catalog. I'm not sure if it's available anywhere else. You just download it and check it out. I don't think it will be worth your time. Also, there was a whole song they sang about planting rice. I kind of loved it.
「茎の伸びるわよわびしくじだよ」「あぜにはもたれず気を受ける」「稲葉をさよ」水の青さよ流れ門の谷も花は咲く上よ根付けよ
Gungrave Gore. You taking guns, anime-inspired stuff, a badass silent protagonist, cyberpunks, and a lot of bullets, and many enemies to die, you get Gungrave Gore. A pretty mediocre game in general. Look, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Apparently, this game is a sequel to Gungrave and Gungrave Overdose and all those other titles. I had no idea. The story is a confusing mess. I didn't really pay attention to it, but what I really was here for was because I saw the trailer and I saw it was kind of a shoot 'em up, a 3D shoot 'em up game where you get to control this very cool looking protagonist, and of course there was a lot of bullets, and immediately I needed to see what this game was all about. And what I got was a game that very much is a mixed bag. On one end, I like a lot of the combat in this game. It's mostly you just walking around shooting enemies, but I didn't really mind that. The problem is that it never really changes. What I did like is that there was dual pistols, you can swing with melee attacks, you can get other super special moves that you unlock, and you are able to just feel like a badass throughout the whole game. Even though I think sometimes the game's difficulty spikes go all over the place, and there's some weird design decisions that the game makes that just really doesn't help. But the problem is the game becomes very basic and repetitive very quickly on. But I will admit that if you turn your brain off and just play this game without thinking, it's kind of a really fun time to play. There's no co-op that I could really find in the game, and I only played this game for a good like 6 hours, but it's not truly a terrible game. Exactly, if you're looking for something like very deep and very into it with many upgrades and a lot of weapons and all this cool stuff, you're not gonna really find it here with Gungrave. You're gonna just have a mediocre time with a pretty mediocre game with some decisions that's not there. I like the style of the game, but the problem is that many of the enemies all look the same. Grave is a really cool looking design character, but he hardly ever speaks. The story didn't really make any sense to me unless you've probably played the previous games, and you'll probably be a fan of this game if you've played them, but it wasn't really a terrible time. I think if I would do a review on this game, I probably would not really enjoy this game because I would have to play it to completion, and I don't think I would play this game. But one other thing I will say is that the missions are pretty short. They don't last really long, at least probably at most 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20, but then they're done pretty quickly, which I think is a good idea because you're mostly just walking through corridors after corridors, shooting the same enemies over and over again. Sometimes the enemies are very bullet spongy, other times they're not bullet spongy, You get to switch between weapons, and the game is really like cool with its like a potential. You know, like there's a lot of potential this game had, but it just seems like it was never really realized, and it never really lived up to what it was supposed to be. Which, you know, is a bit of a shame. It is made by a South Korean developer. Cannot say the studio's name. I think it's Iggy Mob. And I would maybe like to see something else from them. Maybe they can do something a bit different. Again, I didn't really look up what this game is about. I don't even know it was a sequel until I looked up some of the information for it. But it is. The game is available on PlayStation, PS5, Windows, Xbox, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch, which apparently has a lot of changes to the original game. So I don't know if that's the best version you should play. But I wouldn't recommend picking it up for like anything more than 200 Rand. This game is not worth more than 200 Rand in my opinion. So if you can get it on cheap, or if you have PlayStation, you can probably get it that way and just have a fun time with it for like a couple of hours. And that's Gungrave Gore, everybody.
Die! Fuck off!
Gravity Rush 2. Now, I'm not going to go very in-depth in this, as I am planning to make a video for this channel for it, and it's probably going to come pretty soon after this video. But Gravity Rush 2 was something I really wanted to get done. I played the first Gravity Rush. There's a review on it on my channel. You can watch it there. And I really did enjoy Gravity Rush. And I decided to finally play the sequel, and I have to say I've been having a fun time with this game. Really fun. It's everything that the first game was, but made better, refined a little, and of course a little bit of a bigger budget than the first game. And I have to say, the story's great too. Really enjoying this. I recommend if you've played the first Gravity Rush, you should definitely check Gravity Rush 2 out. It's on the PlayStation catalog. Go and check it out. Do you want to play any of them? I will admit, Sakuna God of the Rice, I might continue playing that. I just haven't gotten back to it just yet, because Gravity Rush 2 has been taking up my time. But of course, if you liked the video, comment down below, share it, all those good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next game.
실시간!